Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. You ever have one of those nights where life doesn't just slap you in the face? It backhands you, pauses, then does it again just to make sure you felt it? That was my Thursday night. A perfectly normal day that twisted into something else, something sharper, something that made the whole truth snap into focus, like someone finally wiped smudges off the lens I've been looking through for years. I remember leaving work early for the so-called family dinner. Melissa, my wife, didn't make it sound optional. Not exactly. She worded it the way she does when she wants her family to think I'm part of the picture, but wants me to stay quiet in the background. They want to get together, she said. But there was no excitement in her voice, no warmth. Just obligation, like she was notifying me the trash needed to go out. Still, I tried. I cleaned up, put on the blazer her mother never managed to insult, but always inspected like she was mentally measuring the price tag. I even skipped a late client call, which I absolutely should have taken. But hey, marriage means showing up, right? Or at least that's what I thought then. Wild how fast a belief can die. The restaurant was one of those high-end spots where the napkins probably cost more than regular people's groceries. Valet parking. Crystal glasses. The kind of place Melissa's family lived for. I walked in, gave the host my name, expecting the usual polite nod that comes before they lead you to your table. Except the kid looked at me like I had just asked to sit at the chef's personal desk. Reservation name? He asked again. Ryan Bennett. I repeated, slower this time, like maybe I was a problem. No luck. No Bennett. No nothing. I tried Melissa's father's last name. Whitmore. Boom. There it was. Table for 6. Already seated. That sentence landed in my stomach, like a small bomb. Already seated. I was on time. Actually, 5 minutes early. Meaning they didn't just forget me. They started without me. I turned toward the dining area. And there they were, Melissa, her parents, her sisters, laughing like the cover of a brochure about people pretending they like each other. Not a single empty seat. Melissa didn't even look up. Not once. And that hurt more than anything yet. The person who promised us against the world couldn't even look toward the damn door. But then the air changed. I felt someone behind me. Cynthia, my charming mother-in-law, materialized like a cold draft. She scanned me up and down with this expression I could never quite name, somewhere between annoyance and disbelief, like she was constantly surprised her daughter chose. Well, me? Oh, Ryan, she said in that sugary, poisonous tone. You didn't think this dinner included you, did you? She asked it the same way you'd tell a dog. You didn't think this couch was yours, right? I swear, the room went quieter. Even the waiter standing behind the podium looked uncomfortable. At first, I honestly thought she was joking. That's how delusional I still was back then. But her smile was tight, sharp, cruel, the type that wasn't hiding a joke. Melissa's sisters peeked at me, giggling like I was the entertainment for the evening. This wasn't forgetfulness. This wasn't miscommunication. This was a message. Sweetheart, Cynthia continued, stepping closer, this place is a little upscale for you. There's a sports bar nearby, though something more your speed. The audacity was breathtaking. For a second, I felt everything, embarrassment, anger, confusion, twisting in my stomach. All my instincts screamed to just turn and walk out. But then something in me clicked. Something cold. Something clear. They wanted me humiliated. They wanted me small. But they forgot who they were humiliating. Because what Cynthia didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this wasn't just any restaurant to me. I had history here. Ties. The kind of ties that came with handshakes, late nights, and the kind of loyalty money doesn't even buy. So instead of shrinking, I straightened my jacket, turned to the host, and said, "Could you let Marcus Bell know that Ryan Bennett is here?" Cynthia looked confused, then amused, then downright offended. "The owner?" she scoffed. "Ryan, be serious." "Oh, I am," I said. She laughed, shaking her head. "Honey, don't embarrass yourself. Marcus Bell has CEOs begging for tables. He doesn't come out front for regular patrons." But then the doors of the kitchen swung open, and out walked Marcus. Not a manager, not some assistant. Marcus, the owner, the man who built the entire brand from scratch. His eyes scanned the lobby until he saw me, and the second they did, his whole face lit up. "Ryan," he boomed. He walked straight toward me, pulled me into a half-hug, half-backslap embrace, the kind grown men only give people they absolutely respect. "Man, I haven't seen you in forever," he said. "Look at you." Behind him, everyone froze. Cynthia looked like she had just swallowed a lemon. Melissa finally looked up. Her sister stopped giggling mid-sip. Marcus kept talking, loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. "Last time we worked together, we were drowning in construction dust and arguing over cocktail menus." He turned to the host. "Whatever Ryan wants, put on my tab. Matter of fact, get in the reserve list." The host nodded so fast, I thought his neck might snap. Cynthia's mouth opened and closed like she forgot how to operate it. Marcus finally noticed her standing behind me. "Oh, are you with Ryan?" he asked politely. "She's my mother-in-law," I said before she could speak. Marcus smiled, the kind of smile that instantly says, "My condolences." "Well then," he said, "let's get Ryan seated with the family." Cynthia tried. "Lord," she tried. "Actually, this was a private." Marcus cut her off without even looking at her. "Ryan sits." End the discussion. And that was the moment the entire dynamic flipped. Not slowly, not over time, but instantly, like someone turned the lights on in a dark room. I wasn't the outsider anymore. I wasn't the silent in-law propped up in the background. I wasn't the easy target. I was the man they underestimated, the man they didn't see coming, the man they never thought could shake their little empire with one name. Because I didn't just know Marcus. I had helped build the foundation he stood on. And that night, Cynthia learned something she should have figured out years ago. You really shouldn't try to embarrass a man who built half the room you're standing in. Walking toward that table felt like walking toward a different version of my life. Like I'd been living on the outskirts of my own marriage, orbiting around Melissa's family, while they treated me like a stray satellite they never expected to circle back. But now every eye in that fancy restaurant was following Marcus and me as we moved through the room. It was like someone hit a spotlight switch. Cynthia hated that. I could feel her hate radiating off her skin like a busted microwave. As we approached the booth, Melissa finally looked up at me. Really looked. Not a fake smile, not a polite glance, but this frozen, guilty expression like she knew something was unraveling and she couldn't stitch it back together. Her sisters, Tara and Lindsay, both straightened up, their giggles dying just as fast as their confidence. The moment I reached the table, Marcus clapped me on the shoulder one last time. "Get this man anything he wants," he said to the nearest waiter. "He's basically family around here." Basically family. In front of them. Cynthia almost choked on her wine. Marcus eventually walked off, and the waiter scrambled to slide a chair between Melissa and Lindsay. They moved quick. Marcus had that effect. When I sat down, Cynthia's face twitched like she'd bitten a battery. She didn't want me here. She wanted me humiliated. Quiet. Invisible. Too late. The waiter returned with the limited reserve wine list. Something this restaurant didn't even advertise. It was usually for long-time investors, VIPs, or people who mattered. I wasn't just one of them. I had helped create them. But I didn't say that yet. Not the whole truth. Not the part that would drop like a bomb later. I just nodded at the list like it was something I casually looked at every weekend. Cynthia spoke first. Trying to regain the crown she felt slipping off her head. "Well," she said with a stiff, strained smile, "this is a surprise." I smirked. "It is, isn't it?" Melissa glanced at me, but quickly looked at her hands again. She wasn't ready to face the truth yet. Not the truth about me. Not the truth about herself. Cynthia tried again. "We didn't think you want to come to something upscale." "Funny," I said lightly. "I feel right at home." Lindsay and Tara both shifted uncomfortably. They didn't know what side they were supposed to be on. "Ryan," Tara said finally, "you and Marcus know each other that well?" "Oh, we go way back," I said. "Helped him open his first place. Helped design his bar program. Consulted on a few expansion plans." The sisters blinked like they were hearing about a stranger. Cynthia scoffed. Consulting and bartending are hardly the same thing. She thought she hit some kind of nerve. Instead, she exposed her ignorance. No, I said calmly. They're not the same, which is why he paid me a 5-figure fee for consulting. And no, before you ask, I didn't beg him for it. He came to me. Cynthia's face lost a shade of color. I didn't stop, and when he opened this place, I introduced him to the investors who funded the pre-build. That part one said quietly, casually, like it wasn't about to change the dynamic of the whole table. Melissa finally looked at me again. This time it wasn't guilt. It was realization. A slow dawning that she didn't actually know the depth of the man she married. She married a silhouette, and now she was staring at the whole picture. Cynthia tried to recover by attacking from a different angle. Knowing people doesn't make you important, she said sharply. No, I replied, but building things does. Her jaw tightened. I leaned back slightly, letting the tension breathe. I wasn't trying to pick a fight. I was presenting a ledger, a history, receipts. I turned to Melissa. Remember the boutique you wanted to open? She nodded quietly. Remember how scared you were that the SBA loan wouldn't get approved? Another nod. You never got that loan, I said softly. I funded it myself. The whole table went silent. Tara's jaw literally dropped. You what? Lindsay whispered. Melissa stared at the tablecloth like it had betrayed her. I continued, because there was no going back. I structured it as equity, 60%. You signed the paperwork without reading it because you trusted me, and I never used it against you. Cynthia nearly choked on her drink. You tricked her? No, I said sharply. I helped her. I kept her boutique alive when it should have gone under 6 times. I met with her contractors. I fixed her lease agreement. I made sure her payroll didn't collapse when vendors messed up. Melissa whispered, Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to feel like you built it yourself. I said. Lindsay looked between us, stunned. And Mom didn't know any of this? I shook my head. She didn't know about the boutique, the consulting, or the investments. She didn't even know I kept Peter's firm afloat during the restructuring last year. Cynthia froze. I turned to her. Oh, you thought he magically survived that quarter? No. He was 2 weeks from bankruptcy. I gave him the bridge loan. Quietly, Tara whispered. Mom, is that true? Cynthia didn't respond. Not a word. Not a twitch. Her silence was louder than any confession she could have made. The waiter returned with my wine, poured it, and stepped away. Cynthia watched the deep red swirl in the glass, her eyes burning with a mix of anger, embarrassment, and fear. Oh, she was scared now, because the picture she always painted of me, the unimportant, inexperienced, average husband, was cracking right in front of her. I took a small sip. Well, I said, smiling slightly, now that we're all caught up, how's dinner? No one answered. They couldn't. For the first time, the table wasn't controlled by Cynthia. It wasn't defined by Melissa's silence. It wasn't shaped by assumptions. It was shaped by truth. A truth they had never expected to confront. A truth they desperately wished they hadn't forced out of me. I gave Melissa one more look. She swallowed hard, her eyes flickering with a strange cocktail of guilt, regret, and something like fear. She realized this wasn't temporary. This wasn't a mood. This wasn't me being dramatic. This was the beginning of consequences. Because I wasn't just a quiet son-in-law anymore. I was the man they'd built their comfort on. And I was finally tired of holding them up. You ever feel the exact second something inside you breaks? Not a loud snap, not fireworks, just a quiet, steady shift, like a door closing somewhere deep inside your chest. That's what I felt sitting at that table, surrounded by people who had benefited off me for years, but still treated me like the armrest of their comfort. I didn't raise my voice, didn't pound the table, didn't cause a scene. When you're done, you don't need theatrics. The truth itself does the damage. Cynthia tried to regain control. She really did. Her hands were trembling, but she still lifted her chin like a queen whose crown was slipping off. If you've done all these things for the family, she said, voice tight, then explain why you're so comfortable letting Melissa support you. I swear the whole table flinched. Even Melissa. There it was. The line she'd been holding for years. The false narrative embroidered in her head. Melissa's the breadwinner. Melissa supports you. Melissa carries the marriage. And honestly, I almost laughed, because it was pathetic how wrong she was. Instead, I leaned forward, elbows on the table, my voice steady. You really think Melissa supports me? Cynthia didn't blink. She's the reason you live comfortably. I turned to Melissa, not aggressively, but directly. She froze. Tell them, I said quietly. Where did the down payment for our house come from? Melissa's lips parted, but no words came out. Melissa, I repeated, softer but firmer. Tell your family. She stared at her hands like they were suddenly interesting. She didn't speak. So I did. I paid for the entire down payment, I said calmly. Every dollar came from my early investment returns. Melissa wasn't even generating income yet when we bought that house. The silence wasn't just quiet, it was stunned. Lindsay sucked in a breath. Tara blinked repeatedly like she was trying to reboot her brain. Cynthia shook her head, refusing the truth. No, she told us. Doesn't matter what she told you, I said. That's what happened. I invested. I earned. I paid. She moved in. Melissa's voice finally whispered out. Ryan, you didn't have to say that. You're right, I said. I didn't. But your mother insisted on rewriting history. I'm done letting that slide. Cynthia's voice rose again, desperate. Money isn't everything. What matters is who shows up, who keeps this family together. You mean you? I asked. Her eyes narrowed. I've carried this family for years. I shook my head. You've controlled it. That's not the same thing. Melissa finally broke her silence. Mom, maybe we should just... No, Cynthia snapped. I'm not going to let him manipulate this dinner. I set my napkin down slowly. Manipulate? I repeated. Cynthia, you staged a dinner to humiliate me. You told the host I wasn't invited. You told me to go to a sports bar. Her face went pale, then red, then something in between. That wasn't, she started. Stop, I said quietly. Own what you did. Melissa looked at me with wide eyes. Ryan, please. Let's just calm down. No, I said. What I'm about to say isn't anger. It's truth. Everyone went silent again. Even the background noise of the restaurant seemed to fade. I took a slow breath. I'm done. Melissa's mouth opened slightly. Done with what? I looked her straight in the eyes. With this, with tonight, with pretending your mother's disrespect is just her being her, with you standing there quietly while she takes shots at me. She swallowed hard, her throat visibly tightening. Ryan, we're just upset right now. You're saying things you don't mean. No, I said, for the first time in a long time, I'm saying exactly what I mean. She reached for my arm, but I pulled back gently, not out of spite, just finality. This dinner, I continued, didn't break us. It revealed us. Cynthia scoffed loudly. Oh, please. I turned to her sharply. Don't interrupt me. Her mouth snapped shut. That alone was a miracle. I looked back at Melissa, feeling my chest tighten. Not with anger this time, but sadness. I loved you, I said softly. I tried to make this work. I supported your dreams, your business, your independence, your family, even when they treated me like the punchline. But I can't be the only one fighting for us. Her eyes glistened. Ryan, don't do this. I already decided before I sat down. I said, tonight just confirmed it. She shook her head, voice cracking. You're not leaving. I am, I said. Cynthia leaned in like she'd just scored a point. You're bluffing. I met her gaze. No, I'm free. Melissa's face broke. She reached across the table again, but I didn't move. You're going to regret this, she whispered. I stood up. No, I said quietly. You are. I pushed back my chair, the sound sharp in the hushed space. The waiter had just arrived with entrees, but he froze mid-step, awkwardly hovering as I collected myself. I looked around the table one last time. Tara couldn't meet my eyes. Lindsay looked scared. Cynthia looked furious. Melissa looked shattered. And me? I felt clear. For once, I wasn't the one shrinking myself to make them comfortable. I wasn't the background character in their little dinner drama. I was the guy finally walking off a stage I never signed up to perform on. I nodded politely to the waiter. None of this was his fault, and started toward the exit. My footsteps felt strangely steady. No anger, no second thoughts, no panic, just truth, just clarity, just done. Behind me, the table stayed silent. No one called after me. No one ran after me. They just sat there in the expensive glow of a restaurant I helped build, realizing the structure of their little world had just changed. When I stepped outside into night air, I inhaled deeply. It didn't smell like freedom yet. It smelled like endings. But endings are often disguised beginnings. I pulled out my phone. No texts, no missed calls. Not yet, but they were coming. I walked to my car, sat down, and turned on the engine without starting the drive. My hands rested on the wheel as I let the parking lot lights reflect off the windshield. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't call anyone. I just sat there, because the truth hits hardest in the quiet moments. And this was the quietest moment of my life. Driving home after that disaster of a dinner felt unreal. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just quiet. The kind of quiet where you finally hear your own thoughts because all the noise you've been tolerating for years has finally died. The steering wheel felt heavier, my chest felt lighter, and the road felt longer than usual. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't check my phone. I just let the streetlights pass over the hood of my car, like slow, steady confirmation. I was done. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I already knew exactly what I needed to do. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't emotional. It was the same clarity you feel when you're holding something heavy for too long, and you finally put it down. You don't thank the wait. You don't apologize. You just let go. I didn't go into the bedroom. Didn't grab anything sentimental. Didn't sit on the couch and reflect. I walked straight to the office, the only room in the house that still felt like mine. The room where my real life existed. Investment files, business contracts, company ledgers, the quiet backbone of everything Cynthia pretended not to notice. I knelt by the file cabinet, opened the bottom drawer, and popped the small safe inside. Combination clicked, door swung open. Inside were the receipts of the last 6 years, literal receipts. Contract with vendors I secured for her boutique. Loan documents I structured. Equity agreements I drafted. Records proving I carried that business through droughts she never even knew happened. I laid every document on the desk like puzzle pieces that suddenly formed a picture. Then I grabbed my phone. Snap, snap, snap. Every page photographed. Every detail stored. Every signature preserved. Then I uploaded everything to the cloud and backed it up to an external drive I kept for emergencies. This was an emergency, but not the panic kind. The strategic kind. The kind you prepare for when you realize the people around you mistake your silence for weakness. Next, I pulled out a suitcase. Not the big one for vacations. The small gray one I only ever used for business trips. I wasn't running. I wasn't hiding. I was relocating my piece. Clothes. Laptop. Watch. Passport. Charger Melissa always borrowed. A few essentials. Not a single thing more. Half the closet stayed untouched. Half the drawer stayed full. It wasn't dramatic. It was deliberate. I wasn't sneaking away. I was stepping out. I set the suitcase by the front door, then sat on the couch, letting the darkness settle around me. I didn't turn on the lights. I wanted Melissa to see me exactly like this, waiting, calm, unshaken. It was almost 10:30 when I heard the key in the lock. Her footsteps were soft at first, then paused when she noticed the lights were off. "Ryan," she called, unsure. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" I didn't bother standing up. "Hey," I said quietly. She dropped her purse on the entry table, kicked off her heels, walked into the living room, then froze the second she saw the suitcase. Her eyes widened. "What are you doing?" I stood up slowly. "I'm leaving." She blinked rapidly, like she was trying to clear something from her vision. Wait, what? You're serious? I was serious when I said at dinner, I replied. She shook her head, wrapped her arms around herself. I thought you were just angry. You needed to cool off. I exhaled. Melissa, I've been cooling off for 5 years. She stepped closer, voice tightening. You're just throwing everything away? Over one bad night. One bad night. I repeated with a humorless laugh. Melissa, you sat there and watched your mom humiliate me. You didn't say a word. You let them start dinner without me. You let them treat me like I wasn't part of this family. She looked down. She told me you wouldn't enjoy it. She said it was more for the girls. She said you'd rather skip it. I stared at her. And you believe her? Melissa's silence was answer enough. She sat across from me, rubbing her forehead. So now what? You're just leaving? I already have, I said. She flinched. Ryan, don't do this. Please. We can talk. We can fix things. Melissa, you didn't try to fix anything tonight, I said. Not a single thing. Her voice cracked. I was scared of making it worse. You made it worse by doing nothing. She looked up, eyes glossy. You're going to walk out on me? I walked to the front door, picked up the suitcase, then set it back down, not to stay, but to face her fully. You said earlier at the table that you thought I'd regret this. I said, but you were wrong. She shook her head. Ryan, don't say something you can't take back. I reached into my jacket and held up a document, her boutique's ownership agreement, the one she signed without reading, the one giving me 60% equity, the one they were all about to learn the real meaning of. Her face drained. What is that? You asked me for a loan, I said. I gave you equity. You signed it. Twice. Ryan, she started. I never use it against you, I said. Not once. But I'm not protecting your business anymore. You want to play separate? We're separate. A tear slipped down her cheek. You wouldn't take my business. I'm not taking anything, I said quietly. But I'm done investing in people who don't respect me. Her breath shook. Ryan, please. I opened the door. Goodbye, Melissa. And I stepped out. No yelling. No slamming. No dramatics. Just truth. Loud enough to echo in the silence behind me. The next morning felt surreal. I woke up in a downtown condo I bought quietly last year, a place Melissa never knew about because her mother said it was too much space for a couple without kids. The irony burned. By the time I finished my coffee, my phone was blowing up 17 missed calls, text after text. Her mother, her sisters, unfamiliar numbers. Probably Cynthia using every friend she had like a bat signal. I didn't respond to any of them. By noon, Melissa sent the guilt messages. Ryan, my employees are scared. Please don't do this. You promised me forever. But forever only works when it's mutual. Her mother followed with threats. You embarrassed our family. You won't get away with this. I laughed. She still didn't get it. It was never about getting away with anything. It was about walking away. Then came the panic spiral. Melissa showed up at the boutique and tried to calm her staff, but one of her employees had already forwarded them my ownership agreement. I didn't have to sabotage anything. The truth did it on its own. By the end of the week, 2 employees quit. Foot traffic died. Suppliers paused deliveries. I wasn't doing anything. I didn't need to. Later, my attorney reached out. Melissa's lawyer wants to renegotiate the agreement. Should we respond? No, I said. They can read the clause about non-revocable ownership during divorce. He laughed. This is going to get messy. No, I said, staring out at the city skyline. It's going to get honest. And honesty was something her family had never been able to survive. The day their empire finally cracked, I wasn't even thinking about them. I was sitting on my balcony, sunlight warming my face, when the headline popped up, Whitmore Investments announces leadership restructuring. Peter Whitmore steps down. I exhaled through a slow, quiet smile, because that was the loan I stopped protecting, the safety net I stopped holding, the bailout I wasn't going to offer again. Melissa texted me. I didn't know he was stepping down. Thought you want to know. I didn't reply. I didn't need to, because I wasn't part of their story anymore. I was writing my own, a bigger one, a better one, a freer 1.1 month after the divorce was finalized. Life felt strange in the best way, like someone had opened a window in a room I didn't realize I'd been suffocating in. The condo was quiet, peaceful, and honest. 3 things I forgot in a home could be: no passive-aggressive sighs, no Cynthia calling every 5 minutes, no Melissa acting like everything was fine until her mother told her otherwise. Just silence, my silence. What surprised me most wasn't a lack of chaos. It was a lack of weight. I didn't realize how much of myself I'd been carrying under their expectations, their judgments, their fake smiles. Walking away didn't destroy me. It rebuilt me. And people noticed. A week after the papers were signed, Marcus called. "You free for lunch?" he asked, voice casual as ever. "For you?" I said, "Always." He took me to a rooftop spot overlooking the river. We hadn't seen each other since the dinner, but the second I sat down, he smirked like he already knew everything. "You look lighter," he said. "I feel lighter." I figured, he chuckled. "The whole situation with your in-laws? That was a storm waiting to clear. I stayed too long, I admitted." He sipped his drink. "Nah, you stayed until you realized you didn't need to." He leaned forward, dropped his voice low. "Listen, I've got something for you." He slid a folder across the table. I opened it expecting proposal or some minor collaboration. It wasn't minor. It was a full partnership offer. A new upscale whiskey lounge he wanted to open in Nashville. Something he trusted only me to design, develop, and co-own. "You helped build my first 3, he said. "I want you to help build this one. With your name on it this time." For the first time in months, maybe years, something sparked in my chest. Purpose. Drive. Freedom that wasn't just emotional. It was professional. "When do we start?" I asked. He grinned. "I already knew you'd say yes." That moment, right there, felt like oxygen. It felt like the real beginning. But not everyone took my new piece well. Cynthia tried calling again, and again, and again, from blocked numbers, from her sister's phone, from her husband's office line. I blocked each one without hesitation. You'd think she'd give up after the 10th attempt, but denial is a powerful drug. She even had the audacity to email me once, some long-winded lecture about family, duty, respect, and how Melissa deserved closure. Closure? She wanted closure? After years of disrespect, manipulation, and backhanded compliments wrapped in thin ribbons of civility? I closed her email without responding. Sometimes silence is the only language people like her understand. Melissa was different, though, softer, slower, like she wasn't sure what to say or how to say it. She texted once. "Can we talk? Please." No attacks, no entitlement, just 3 words. But here's the thing. I had talked. I talked for years. She just never listened. I didn't respond. Not because I hated her. Not because I wanted to punish her. But because peace requires boundaries, and she was no longer allowed inside mine. Meanwhile, the fallout from my departure hit her family harder than I expected. Whitmore Investments didn't just restructure. It crumbled. Turns out, when you remove the guy silently plugging the leaks, the ship sinks fast. Investors pulled out. Clients panicked. They scrambled to find emergency capital. But Cynthia had burned too many bridges pretending their foundation was solid. Their foundation had been me. When Peter stepped down, Melissa texted me again. I didn't know he was resigning. "I thought you want to hear it from me." I read it once, then deleted it. That chapter was done. Around the same time, the boutique, her pride, her project, her women's empowerment centerpiece, filed for Chapter 11. Not because I sabotaged anything. I didn't call suppliers, didn't pressure employees, didn't spread rumors. I simply stepped back. And when you're used to leaning on someone without realizing it, falling is guaranteed the moment they move away. I heard later her mother blamed me for it, told the entire extended family I'd destroyed Melissa's dreams out of bitterness. But anyone who looked at the paperwork could see the truth. Her dream was standing on stilts made of my effort. I just stopped being her scaffolding. The funny thing is, the world doesn't stop when you walk away from the wrong people. It expands. My days became calmer. My nights became quieter. My mornings didn't start with tension. I found myself enjoying simple things again. Coffee on the balcony, late-night drives with music blasting, peace that wasn't conditional on anyone's approval. I even started hitting the gym more, therapy twice a month, travel on weekends, long drives with no destination. Stuff I never had the space to do because I was too busy being Melissa's emotional punching bag and Cynthia's preferred target. Then something unexpected happened. About 2 months after the divorce, while I was in Nashville reviewing Blueprint with Marcus, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I usually ignore unknown calls, but something said, "Pick up." A soft voice spoke. "Hi, is this Ryan?" "Yes." "Who's this?" "This is Emily. I work at Whitmore Investments." "Well, used to." My eyebrow lifted. "Okay, how can I help?" She hesitated before speaking again. "I just want to tell you something. Off the record." "Go ahead." "The day after you left Melissa, the entire office knew something was wrong. Peter was scrambling. Cynthia was furious. They were all terrified. Everyone knew you weren't coming back to help." There was a pause. "I just thought you should know your absence was louder than anything Cynthia ever said about you." I leaned back in my chair. "Thank you, Emily." After we hung up, I felt a strange, quiet closure settle into my chest. Not spite, not satisfaction, just confirmation. The truth has a way of echoing back to you, long after you stop speaking it. The Whiskey Lounge project moved fast, faster than I expected. Construction crews, design teams, branding meetings Marcus pushed, I pulled, and together we shaped something incredible, something classy, something bold. One night, as we were walking the empty, half-finished interior, Marcus clapped me on the shoulder. "You know," he said, "your ex-wife's going to see your name on the opening sign." I smirked. "Probably. You ready for that?" I looked around the room. Exposed brick, amber lighting, polished wood. "I'm ready for the life that does include her." He nodded like he'd been waiting to hear that exact sentence. "Then we're good," he said. And we were. Eventually, months later, I did see Melissa again. Not in person. Not at my door. Not even in a message. But in an article. A small one. Almost forgettable. Local boutique shuts down permanently amid financial turmoil. There was a photo. Melissa standing outside the shop, staring at a sign taped to the door. Closed. She looked tired. Exhausted. Alone. For a moment, I felt something like grief. Not for us, but for the version of her I once believed existed. I closed the tab. Not everything needs to be revisited. People think walking away is the end of the story. It's not. It's the beginning of the part where you learn who you are without the noise. Who you are without the pressure. Who you are without the people who only love the version of you that served them. And for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly who I was. Not the quiet husband. Not the background character. Not the family wallet. Not Cynthia's verbal punching bag. Not Melissa's emotional insurance policy. I was the man who built his own life. The man who walked away instead of breaking. The man who let the fire burn so he could start fresh from the ashes. And honestly, I've never felt more free.